and welcome back to Opal&Mint. I am Ashley, and today we're going to be playing with some more watercolors. Big surprise, I know, but these were in a recent Etsy haul that we did, and I want to dive into these a little bit more. I want to test these out a little more. I briefly swatched these in that video just so you could see them, but I want to see what this is all about. These are what I would call Play-Doh watercolors. Whoa. Because I think they call them Pebble watercolors, but they look like dried out Play-Doh to me. And if you watch them make it, it's this like Play-Doh consistency. It doesn't look like a liquid watercolor that hardens. It looks like a putty. Anyways, we're going to play with these some more. I did end up swatching them on the swatch card that came with it. So we're going to swatch, we're going to play, we're going to experiment, and of course I'm going to paint something, but something I wanted to note is it did come with a brush that I did not see. I did not see this when we opened it, but it's a size 2 little round brush. It has Hyper Exist on it. Yeah, we're going to break into the Hyper Exist Pebble paints, see if we can make something pretty. So let's go ahead, turn the camera around, and start painting with pebbles. Okay, so first we're going to swatch these paints on a scrap piece of my favorite paper. Let's start, get a brush nice and clean. Okay. So I have painted with these one time. I painted with these yesterday, in addition to the time I swatched them on that one video. And the first thing I want to note about them is they take a lot of water. But once you do have that water, they do actually come out pretty pigmented. So when I swatched them in the Etsy video, they weren't near this color at all. But they're very, I did say this in that video, they're very thirsty paints. So you need to drench these with water, let it soak for a minute. They don't reactivate as quickly as traditional watercolors and what I would normally like. So I'll put this dollop of water on there and it'll like soak into it. We'll put some more on. Like, they're thirsty paints. But we're going to go ahead and swatch them on this piece of paper before we paint something. I don't know what I'm going to paint yet, as always. I never know. All right, so we're going to swatch these. I'm trying to decide, should I do stone swatches? We haven't done that in a little bit. Let's go ahead and do that. So, and that's fitting since these are pebbled paints. That makes sense. Let's do that. Cool. That's a very, very big stone swatch. I don't know if they're all going to fit on this paper if I do them that big. So it takes a lot of working the water into the paint. One of my biggest fears when I saw how these were made was, are they going to feel gummy under the brush? And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second when we start painting with them. But they do reactivate and they do have nice color payoff once you kind of work down into that paint a little bit. So I want to talk a little bit about why handmade watercolors. Why do I like trying them? Are they necessary? No, not really. Like, you don't, if you want to stick with mainstream brands and just, I mean, honestly, sticking with one brand of watercolors is not a bad idea. I just like exploring different options, and see, after that's been setting, it's a lot more pigmented. And it helps fuel the creativity in painting, I think. It helps, I mean, having different colors and textures and styles of paint can ignite different ideas for you. Like my 31 Purple Fish paints. I love those because of the colors, because of the granulations, and they inspire me to paint different things than I perhaps would have painted if I didn't have them. So you absolutely can paint with just a few colors from one brand and that's it. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I just love the creativity fueling of having different paints. I think that's what it boils down to me. And I like playing with paints, and I don't know, I like testing them out and telling you what I think. So when I initially swatched these in our Etsy video, I was very, very underwhelmed. But swatching them here, I was a little bit more impressed with them. So, and I think with every new style of paint that you try, you kind of got to figure out how that particular paint works and how to make it work best. So yeah, we're gonna leave it at that for now. But I'm gonna finish swatching these and then we'll go into with painting something. Okay, I'm gonna let those dry for a second and then we'll come back and paint something pretty. All right, I was going to look up what I was gonna paint. I don't remember. Oh, I did want to show you. Let's see here. So here is the video of how they make the paint. See, it's a lot more putty-like, Play-Doh-like than most watercolors. And it says that they are made out of gum arabic, honey, gum arabic and honey. So they do use honey in it, which honey normally makes it activate better, but I don't know. It just takes a really long time to activate. It's the only downfall at the moment. Anyways, let's paint something. Man, those are pretty flowers. What are those? Those are gorgeous. Man, that's beautiful. I normally do flowers, so I want to do something different. Oh, that's stunning. Oh, that's so pretty. Okay, I'm going to do a quick sketch and I'm just going to do the back side and we'll do a dress. Trying to decide if I want the hair up or down. Okay, so I have my little sketch. I'm going to take my kneaded eraser and just go over it to lighten it up a little bit. Okay, so let's start painting. I think I want to start, I'm going to get the body in. So where did my swatches go? Let's try to get a skin tone going. That has too much what in it. Put a little bit of this color. It's pretty. Let's see what this looks like. Interesting. Okay, I have thoughts already. I'm going to hold them for a second though. All right, what color should this dress be? Let's take my Tintoretto brush I don't want it to be a black dress like this. Let's make it a fun, oh, I don't know yet. I'm gonna wet the surface first. By the way, I didn't mention what kind of paper I am using. This is New York Central cotton paper. So, in case you were curious about the paper I'm currently using. All right, I feel like I want to use some purple. So I'm gonna see how this responds wet and wet, because I haven't done that yet. Interesting. It's like, interesting. This purple definitely looks like it's a granulating color. Yeah, you can definitely see the separations between the pinks and the blues in that. I think I'm gonna leave that there. I'm gonna take this pink color and this, and I didn't wet this part, so this is not wet on wet, just the purple was. Seems to dry pretty quickly. That first layer I put on the back and arms is dry. I mean, it wasn't a super wet application, so we'll see how quickly the dress dries. So as you can see, once they've been setting in water for a good while, they actually come out quite intense. You just have to prep a little bit with them, which is not my favorite thing to do with watercolor. I like to just have it ready to go whenever I want it. These definitely work if you prep a couple of rounds of putting water in them. So when I originally saw how they made the paint, my first thought was, is that gonna be gummy? And I don't know if you can tell just watching me paint this, it is a little bit. It does have a little bit of gumminess to it. And that is not for me a desired quality in my paints. This brown, particularly like right now, is kind of gummy. The thicker you use this paint, the kind of gummier it is. You can see it's not like behaving the same way watercolors normally behave. Now, whether this is a good thing or a bad thing for you, that is for you to decide in your personal style and how you like to paint. But I'm not really sure that this is gonna be for me. I think that's one thing I complain about most when I'm reviewing newer paints. Is if it's gummy, I definitely make note of it. Now, I'm not saying that these paints are bad. I'm not saying that you shouldn't try them if you want to. I'm saying that for my style, especially this brown one right now, is being kind of gummy for me. And if you can see that, it just sticks there and it's not spreading the way I would like it to. Let's see if I can put in a little bit of shadowing on the body. Yeah, I think it's just the texture for me that I'm not loving. Like I said, it's not awful, but it's just not my preferred texture for paint. It's layering okay. It definitely just, it's got a gumminess to it. Okay, I feel like the dress needs a little more something. I was kind of letting it dry, but it's still very wet. But I'm loving the way that purple paint is separating the pink and the blue. Like, it's really pretty. I kind of want to let that dry before I go on to details on top. Yeah, I think I'm gonna let that dry completely before I add more details to it. But I don't know, I feel like there could be, let's get this over a little bit, a purpose for these paints. Like, I feel like this could lend itself to a certain style of painting. It's just, see, I'm touching it to that yellow. I'm even pushing it, and it's not spreading into it like I want it to. If you like a paint that sticks where you put it, and like I said, it just has a little bit of a gumminess. Now, that spread a little bit because I had a ton of water on my brush. So if you use these very, very liquidy, then they will spread. So that did spread a little bit there. I think the problem is the more thickly and opaque you use them, the gummier they are, because they're this paint to water ratio, you know, and the paint itself has a gumminess to it. So I think that if you're using this in really light washes, it will probably behave fine. That's pretty. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel. As of right now, I don't think this is going to be one that I reach for. Let's see here. Yeah, it's just, it just doesn't behave like traditional watercolors, and that's fine. It's just not my preferred paint. So there's that. I think I might wrap it up and leave it at that. I'm going to finish that off, but I don't know that I have anything else to say about them. I do like a couple of the shades that kind of granulate. Let's look at the swatches. So the purple granulates, and then this sagey color, it separates into, like, even as it's sitting there with the water, it separates into like pink, and I don't know, it's got some pink separation. It's really, really fascinating. Like, that color is actually really cool. So there are the swatches. I don't know. See, that's a beautiful color as well. I feel like you could paint some really, really cool things with this. You just have to paint in a different way than maybe you normally do. And it's fascinating. They dry so much more intense than they are wet. Like, these colors look so much more rich now that they're dry. It's such a fascinating, it's different. It is an interesting paint. I will give it that. And it's interesting. So I think I am going to wrap it up here. I'm going to hit the camera evidently. I think I'm going to leave it at that, but I'm very curious. Is this something that you are interested in trying? I'll definitely leave a link in the description below so you can check these out for yourself. But that is going to wrap it up for this one. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already and you want to see our future videos, hit that subscribe button down below, and we will see you guys next time. Bye. The hair looks awful. The dress is pretty. Okay. Yeah. Excuse me. I have the hiccups. Little red. I just did my intro for these little pebble paints I'm fixing to. I have the hiccups. Filming with the hiccups is very entertaining.